So before we get into this, Coach, what are some of the things that we have a perception of Kyle Shanahan, good or bad? What are some of the
Okay.
perception things that we talk about?
Some of the things that we think about Kyle from top to bottom is number one is that he's incredibly smart. All right.
Mhm.
That he has a scheme. His best attribute is his preparation and his play calling. All right. And also understanding packages within his scheme, finding the right athlete. I mean, if you go back from Kyle, the genesis of Kyle's career, which was in 2006, all right, and then you chart his first year as a DC, I mean as a OC, which is in 2007, right? You take 2007 on, and you can take the literal package and find, like, it's almost like a family tree. Like, you can find Debo down all the way down to 2007, right? You can find, like, you can say Debo was Taylor Gabriel. Debo was Pierre Garcon. You see what I'm saying? You can find that, before we had that change of pace back, then it was Alfred Morris. Originally, his original Tevin Coleman was Steve Slayton when he was coming out of West Virginia. You can find all of the packages in Kyle's offense all the way down to when he first started calling plays. So that's something else that you've noticed about him as a coach. Also, right now, presently, we know that he's very hands-on as far as not letting anybody else touch the offense, as far as he wants to be the head coach and the offensive coordinator at the same time, and he won't relinquish it. And he feels as though that it's a duty of his, that it works the best. But I think we have enough proof of concept to know that those are the biggest issues that Kyle has: is game management, adjusting during games, and coming off of his game plan when it's not working, or sticking to his game plan when it is working instead of trying to get into something else. So those are some of the things that we see with Kyle. And then really just the common denominator under all of that is lack of accountability, right? So it's like, you can take all,
like these are all things we've talked about: arrogance, lack of
Mhm.
accountability.
Yes.
What's the other one? A
He's
bit of a
closed
control
off.
freak,
He's a control
closed
freak.
off. All these things.
Yeah. He has a very, like, the temper is short. So, but the thing
Stubborn.
that's interesting about, the things that are interesting about these articles that we're about to go through is that, in a way, you can look at the quotes and see what's happening in Kyle's career at the time. And in a way, you can kind of see where this stuff comes from, right? So that's why we want to delve into these articles, because, this stuff is really laying on the surface. All you got to do is go back.
Well, and I think the other thing too is, again, when we hired Kyle, or we're bringing him in, at least for me, all I knew is his last name was Shanahan, and he killed it when he was with the Falcons, and I
Right.
wanted him here. And I was
Right.
excited about that. The offense was phenomenal, setting records. He's a young Mike Shanahan. Let's bring him in. And then as he's been here, you've started to see maybe some of the cracks in the armor, some of the things that frustrate you about Kyle Shanahan. Still a very good coach, but things that frustrate you, and you're like, man, why doesn't he take accountability? Well, he's young. Maybe he'll grow. I'm not so sure. And after reading some of these, just you guys form your own opinion. We're just bringing the information to you. We're going to give our opinion on it, but we're going to bring the information to you. But think about all the things that we talked about, or all the things that we say about Kyle Shanahan, good or bad. And let's see if some of these things have always been intrinsically ingrained in who he is. So the first article, we're not going to read the whole thing on this one, but the first one is right after he was hired as the Texans offensive coordinator at the age of 29. His first gig is offensive coordinator. So,
and before you start, Jesse,
yeah.
what I would like to do is, like, chronologically just kind of give, like, some numbers so people know exactly what's going on during these times, right? So if this is 2008 or 2009?
2009, August 4th, 2009 is when this article was written.
Okay, so in 2009, he was the OC at Houston. All right. And for that year in Houston, they went. What is wrong with me? The NFC South, AFC South. That year they went 9-7.
Okay.
All right. So
All right.
let's rip.
Okay. There's a reason Texans offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan looks so young. He is. At 29, he's the youngest coordinator in the NFL, easily mistakable for a ball boy until he puts on the headset. This season, Shanahan begins his second year as offensive coordinator. So, second year as offensive coordinator, first time calling plays. So, let me clarify. Shanahan begins his second year as offensive coordinator and his first at game day calling plays. He called plays at times last season, but coach Gary Kubiak has removed the training wheels and given him the full-time job. Honestly, I feel my responsibilities this year are exactly the same as last year, Shanahan said. Going into my second year, guys know what I want to get done, and I'll get a little more respect. Shanahan doesn't think he'll be reaching for the Alka-Seltzer more often. This is why I like coaching, he said. We like the pressure. It's the motivation to get up as early as we do and stay as late as we do. If the pressure wasn't there, it would be too much of a grind. It's what we enjoy and why we do it. So right there, I think you're getting a look into his competitiveness, which is some of the good things, right? These are some of the good things about Kyle Shanahan. Very competitive, very fiery. You see it right there in that one of his first quotes after getting hired.
Yes, I'm sorry, Jesse. And also you see that he's already keen to wanting his respect. He's already keen to it already. And he also knows that him calling plays is a big deal, right? His first year as an offensive coordinator, he did not call plays. All he did is do game prep. Coach Gary Kubiak called the plays. So we're just trying to get you into the context of what's happening right now. This is what we know now as the genius. This is his first year getting to actually do the things that we think he's great at.
Right. The Texans finished third in the league in yards last season and set franchise records with 6,113 total yards, 4,267 passing yards, and 1,846 rushing. Quarterback Matt Schaub became a 3,000-yard passer for the first time. Rookie Steve Slayton ran for 1,282 yards, leading all NFL rookies. Andre Johnson led the NFL with 1,575 receiving yards and 115 catches and earned a Pro Bowl assignment. I've been excited about this year because he's, talking about Kubiak, been more vocal about it and told me he wants me to do it full time, Shanahan said. I think I owe it to him so I can do my job and he can focus on his. So let me read that again.
Read that again.
This is Shanahan talking about Kubiak. Kubiak also called plays. Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. Shanahan has just gotten promoted to calling the plays. He says, I've been excited about this year because he's, Kubiak, been more vocal about it and told me he wants me to do it full time, Shanahan said. I think I owe it to him so I can do my job and he can focus on his. What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means that Kyle, at a young age, first starting out as an OC, Kyle already understands that being a head coach is a full-time job. Being a head coach, it's more than calling plays. And he knows that calling plays isn't a privilege, but it's actually something that he's taking off of Coach Kubiak's plate so Coach Kubiak can do his job. It's just, and this is Kyle saying this out of his own mouth at 29 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like right now, you should ask Kyle, like we could ask him, like, my man, don't you think it may be time for you to give up, relinquish play calling duties and get somebody up to snuff? Like, this is my thing. If Mike McDaniel is good enough to run the Dolphins, he's good enough to call a game for the 49ers. Like, my man, like at some point, this is what I mean when I'm talking about pivoting, right? Like, if you're going to pivot, you're gonna have to be able to repurpose what you have to understand how to utilize it better. And this right here is just one of those quotes literally from Kyle of him understanding the value of it because he's on the other side.